Hello and welcome, it's Adam from betterproposals.io and I'm here today with Jack from Freestyle Web Design, and I wanted to ask him a couple of questions about how he's managed to get his basically going from being a freelancer right up to sort of running sort of a full-scale digital agency, and I think he's managed to do something that's pretty incredible, and that's actually get himself to the point where he can remove himself from the business. So hope you enjoy this interview. Jack.
How's it going? You all right?
Very well. So let's sort of give a little bit of context and a little bit of background. So how long have you been doing this whole web design stuff?
Oh, web design stuff. I started that pretty early on as something to earn money in the spare time when I was growing up, pretty much. And then kind of messed up college and decided to go straight into the world of work.
Nice.
And yeah, so basically started working for an agency in 2008 and then did a couple of years cutting my teeth there. And then I started Freestyle up in 2011.
Nice. And so, 2017 now. So how many sort of clients or websites have you guys launched over the years?
So it's just over 400 as of now.
That's absolutely bonkers.
Keeps us busy.
Yeah.
Keeps us busy, yeah. 400
websites. I'm trying to. When I ran my design agency, I'm pretty sure we did about 5 a year, and here you are doing like 400 and 6 years.
We normally work on about 30 at any given time. When I was on my own, I think I peaked at doing, I think it was 21, 22.
On your own?
On my own.
At one time.
I mean, they were basically like £1,000 to £2,000 WordPress sites, which is pretty much what we do now, just at a bit of a higher price point.
Amazing. So one of the things I wanted to get into was how you manage your workload. So I know that a lot of people watching this will have the same problem, which we've all experienced, which is you've got clients coming in from all different angles, you've got a million different things to do, promises here, deadlines there, and there's not really any way of doing it.
Yeah.
I know that you've gone through a little bit of that pain and then you've kind of come out the other side of it relatively unscathed. So how did you manage to sort of go through that? And if you messed it up a little bit, then give us some ideas.
Yeah, so trial and error, I suppose, is the main way, with a bit of intelligent thought along the way, I hope. But I mean, when we're doing the sort of volumes and number of projects we get to practice everything a lot. So it's like everyone's a way to improve the process and move on to the next one. So the first sort of problem that we really needed to fix was how everyone was contacting us, because we had people sending us like WhatsApp, text, not that many of those, but I mean, a vast volume of email and phone calls. So basically we made a rule that we had to stick to one of those. So basically everything gets turned into an email regardless of how stuff gets sent to us, whether it be like a live chat, a Facebook message, a tweet, a telephone call if we take down a new inquiry or something like that. We've got a contact form on our website that the guys here fill in. So we're making sure we're getting like consistent data coming in, and that starts the process rolling of the fact find, which is like one of the 15 processes that gets a customer from contacting us to going live with their website.
Amazing. So you would recommend getting rid of as many different modes of communication?
Try and get them all channeling up into one, and email is the most logical one. We use not a CRM system, it's more of a ticketing system called Groove, which I think, since I mentioned to you, you guys have started using it as well.
Customers as well.
So it's really, really good. We love that. Allows us to sort of throw tickets around between each other, add internal notes, canned responses to save, like saying up what's my incoming mail server, what's my outgoing mail server, the number of times that you send that stuff. So yeah, Groove allows us to save a lot of time. Also integrates so we can add people to mailing lists, stuff like that, straight from our dashboard. And that's kind of like what we use as kind of like the hub, really, of all of our customer contact comes into that one place.
That's interesting. You mentioned, I think you just mentioned like the email thing, just sort of sending the same stuff to different people.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that people don't really look at. And I think you can only really do that once you have that volume. And that's one thing you said earlier, you get to practice it a lot because you have that volume there.
Yeah.
But when you're doing, two, three sites a month, and that's a busy month for you, it's really hard to see some of the patterns. And I think that's something that you guys have managed to get highlighted quite quickly and early because of the sheer volume that you've had going on.
Yeah, definitely. You do definitely pick up on the sort of trends that most people have. I mean, the main thing that we have to be really, really good at is making customers be quite organised with the content, because so much cash flow in this kind of business is caught up on waiting people to send the content when realistically it's not on their priority list. So getting customers to commit to a deadline and giving them a firm date of when they have to send the content by, and telling them every single time they miss that deadline, it just pushes their final deadline for launch back. I don't know, maybe try and like tie it up to some kind of event they want to go to or something and have the new website launch for that. So it's about sort of trying to make sure the customer's aware of the knock on knock, really. And then also, like, come on, you're busy people out there in quite demand. What we do is quite high in demand. You not white lie. I mean, the customer probably sort of appreciate it in the long run, but telling them you got a couple more projects coming up after theirs and it's going to put on a 3 or 4, well, maybe a 4-6 week delay on their project if you don't get the content by Friday, so you've got to get it. In the end, they're happy because it all goes smoothly, everything runs to your sort of schedule, yeah, things just run a lot smoother when you have disciplined customers. One thing that we started doing is laying out sort of like a homepage of Lorem Ipsum, placeholder text, getting basically like the bare bones of things together before they've even sort of sent us anything, and then it just starts. Once the customer can visualize things, it then makes them they find it a lot easier to supply the content to us then.
Yeah, that's super helpful actually, and I think one thing that you've done, which I've got a massive amount of respect for, because it's something that I know I need to be careful now, because we've done it, is actually be able to take a sizable chunk of time away from your business. I know you went traveling recently, and the fact that you managed to actually just, I mean, it's a crazy thought to me, having done what in a way what you've done with a design agency, to be able to just pick yourself up and just go is nothing short of miraculous.
It was pretty scary, yeah.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
So to bring us up to, and I might jump in at different points, but bring us up to sort of how you managed to set things up.
So basically, it evolved over a few years. Obviously, it started out with me selling, designing, building, tweaking, launching, supporting, redesigning. And then you got like a batch of 180 customers in 2011 with non-responsive websites. So it's all fun. But basically, as more and more people join the company, you kind of define roles, and you can really speak to those people and see where the clear defined markers are through their projects. And basically, we have, it's almost a bit strange, it's like there's a clockwise system in the office. A project goes around, so it starts with me, and then it comes around to the designers, developers, and then content guys, stuff like that. So yeah, it works pretty well, and we've basically just defined our process. They go like A, B, C, D, E from the first time a customer contacts us all the way through to launch. And I think the lists go up to like K, which is training, which is post-launch. So it's just to make sure that they know everything about their website, exactly how to do everything. But yeah, so we've basically got these separate processes. So for example, the launch list, for example, I think that one has like 135 separate items in it. It's a bit of a beast, that one on its own. But launching a website, there's lots of margin for error. So that is one of the juicier lists. But basically, there's a list of every single job that has to get done to make sure that happens smoothly. And each one of us, because we basically use Google Sheets for a launch list per project. And each one of us can just put an initial next to each item as we complete it. And they're all, once the whole thing goes green, there's a little competition in there. So it says who's done the most on that project. That wasn't my idea, but it's a pretty good one.
Nice.
And yeah, so we can all jump on things and work to them at the same time. It works pretty well for us.
Good. So if you're not involved, how does the whole system operate if you're not there?
So you just go through those lists that you're then committing to, finding out everything that time after time your initial is next to, and one by one knocking them out. There are things that are obviously quite hard to let go of. Myself, I still do all of the sales. Sort of probably a bit greedy on that. But
did you pass any of that off, or?
Yeah, well, I mean, when I went away, I left the UK on 31st of October last year, and I came back to the office. I think my first proper day back into the office was like 4th or 5th of January.
Wow.
So I had just November, December off pretty much. They sold more in those 2 months that I was away than the previous 2 months that I'd sold. So Amazing. It just goes to show, if you have a good system and you make sure everyone's got what they want covered. The thing is as well, when you're handing responsibility over, if you've got a keen team behind you, they're going to want to prove their sort of weight behind it all, and the fact that they can stand up and try and do a better job than you can, as they did. But yeah.
That's got to make you feel pretty good, though. I mean, obviously, completely damaged your pride in one way.
Big time.
But
Big time.
on the flip side, actually, it's a super awesome moment where you realise that actually your team that you assembled with your processes that you mostly came up with, that performed better in a way because it was a process that was being operated rather than you as the creator of it, I suppose, like meddling with it a lot. And I know that
it becomes bigger than you, really.
Yeah.
And that sounds a bit weird to say. It's not really like that, is it? It's more just to see, like, I don't know. I decided, me and my girlfriend decided that we wanted to go travelling before buying a house, like a long time ago. And I think it was like 9 months. And I had 9 months to basically eliminate myself from the business because when I went away, I wanted to be able to go away.
Yeah.
And completely sort of turn off from everything. So in those 9 months, I was kind of on a bit of a mission, and I did a little dummy run. I went away on my own to Spain for a few days, isolated myself away, and it was the most miserable, boring time of my life because I was just pretty much trying to hide myself away and stay out of everything.
Just see if you could last without checking email.
Yeah, pretty much. And all went fine. Obviously, do a few dry runs, things like that. But it gives a lot of sort of like, it allows you to really sort of get out of the business and look at it top down and think, right, where's my problems here? Where do I need to improve, and where can things be sort of scaled up, really?
Yeah.
Because ultimately you're always looking to sort of scale a business, increase profitability. You can see where wastage is. With guys as well, I mean, just constantly ask everyone that's performing these jobs, how can we improve this? I mean, I haven't made a change to the processes for a while because these guys do it themselves. I can't remember what it was, but there was something today that one of the guys decided to amend on one of the lists. It's a constant thing. It should always be changing because the quality and the quality and end product always has to change as well because it's an ever-changing thing in our world. So it's an evolving process as it is an evolving industry, really. Yeah.
It's really interesting that, in a way, it's quite funny that we took a similar approach.
Yeah.
And I never had that deadline, that 9-month deadline that you created for yourself. And actually, I think it probably took me about 3 years to do what you ultimately did in 9 months, which was go from decision to I'm going. And because we didn't have that deadline, we just mucked about with it, and it wasn't as
everything needs a deadline.
It did,
if you want to get it done, if it's worth getting done and you actually want to commit to doing something and put a date on it and don't move, you've kind of got to have this like blind stubbornness to it. But yeah, get it done. It's fine. It's not without its problems though. As I was saying to you just before this, I gave myself high blood pressure at 23 running the business that I've done. So it's not that much of it. It's not an easy thing, but it's a rewarding thing when you get it done. And then when it starts standing on its own 2 feet, it's so massively rewarding. It's like watching your little kid growing up, pretty much.
Yeah.
Sort of not needing you to look after it.
That is cool.
Quite as much.
Yeah.
I'm still involved, very much, but still.
Love it. So, wrapping up then, if you could give a couple of snapshot little bits of advice to somebody that was either you in like 2012, 2013 kind of thing, at your busiest, but without maybe additional team members, what would that be? Would you advise sort of freelancers, or would you say like, no, take that jump and fully hire somebody? Okay.
So in terms of people, we've massively done really well out of apprenticeships. Because we do our things in our own way, which is our own process, which we've developed. It's kind of like nice to teach people that from the ground up so that it's how they work as well. So apprenticeships have been really good for us. We run people through an online training course, and then basically that gets them a lot of the core of their skill, and then they'll do a bit of shadowing to see other parts of the job. To the point where Luke, who normally sits behind where I'm sat now, I think 6 months in, he passed all his Google partner qualifications.
Oh, amazing.
From having come from zero skill to now, he manages all of our AdWords. It's just an intense thing to hand over, but if you're going to commit to something, commit to it. In terms of just useful little nuggets of things I think would be worth doing if you're trying to sort of start a business, service-based business particularly. Number one is don't give people your mobile number. So that was something that took me a while to figure out. But when I was getting like calls at 7 p.m. on a Sunday, when I'm just trying to like settle down and watch Top Gear while it was still good.
Yeah. I was gonna say.
It was a bit annoying when you just sort of like customers feel that you're constantly at their beck and call. So what we've got and what we moved over to is a VoIP-based phone system. Redirects my mobiles out of hours. Well, it doesn't anymore. But I used to just have a landline redirect into my mobile out of hours, or if I was out at a meeting or something, get people hooked on that number, because then you can scale it into multiple desks and set up hunt groups and stuff as you go. And then also the other thing is use an answering service. If you're ever not going to pick up the phone, you never know what that call could be. I mean, you can get an answering service for like 25 quid a month for up to like 50, 60 calls. We've got that so that we actually switch the phones off between 1 and 1:45. So we have no phone calls while we're out having lunch. It means we can go out and have a barbecue or kick around or whatever it's going to be. Which generally means that people come back from lunch a hell of a lot more energized.
Yeah.
When they don't have to.
Because you've gone out rather than this idea of just spending like 9 hours sitting in front of your desk, which I think sometimes it's good to do those little sprints, like, you know, you've got a big launch coming up or something, like they're kind of cool to do that. You just get all the food in, you get the beers in, and you know, you go nuts.
The biggest thing as well is if you can turn something into a competition. If you've got a young team, it works so well. You get stuff done so quickly. Like if we're working on like a 250 pound, sorry if anyone watching this isn't a web designer, but if we're launching like a 250 page website or something like that, and you've got to go sit down doing each 301 redirection on launch, like there's no way around it. It's a ball ache. Yeah. But if you divide them by the number of people that you've got, give them each a spreadsheet and say, first one to the bottom gets a beer, or I don't know, whatever, last one to the bottom buys the beers, then it's going to work out quite well.
That's good.
Yeah.
So friendly competition amongst the team.
Yeah.
Apprenticeships.
Apprenticeships work really well for us.
Yeah, that's good.
Time. Yeah,
it's just so interesting hearing like a different approach than we went through.
Yeah.
And, you know, we got things to sort of a pretty decent level, which was, you know, really, really nice. But there's so many different ways of doing this, which I think is really interesting. And
I'm not saying that my way is the best way at all. It's the way that's worked for us. There's probably thousands of ways of doing it. It's just finding the one that works for you. The reason I said the apprenticeships work as well, because some people might be sort of putting big question marks over that, is you can get like distance apprenticeships in digital marketing, IT practitioner, things like that. So it's 5 days a week in the workplace, and then the college comes to you. Like once every 6 weeks to 2 months kind of thing.
Have you got any links or anything you can include in this?
Yeah, I can sort that out.
Cool, that'd be good. Amazing. Well, look, that's super helpful. I mean, if I'd watched that when I was, if I'd watched this like 10 years ago when I was doing my thing, that would have been super helpful. But hopefully this has steered some other people in the right direction, because, you know, I've spent a lot of time talking to different people that are Better Proposals customers, and they're at their busiest point where they're on their own, but they can't quite take that jump to kind of go to the next thing. So I think this is it's been really, really great to have your insights on this. And thank you so much for doing it.
Nice one. Cheers, Adam.
Pleasure. Thanks mate.